Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and president of that agency. Welcome to the show where we talk about business and social media. So appreciate you joining us today. We have a special presentation as we are recording this show remotely, and I think all of you know that I love a remote podcast. I don't have to get up and leave my house. I don't have to take my dogs out before I run out of the house for a couple of hours. So I just do this right from the basement. So I'm always thrilled about this, and especially when we have a very wonderful guest. Our guest today is Wendi Freeman with Be Bright Events. Wendi, how are you?
I'm great, Mark. Thank you.
I was getting a little worried there for a second. I thought we lost you. Well, I am so glad you have joined us today. And one of the things, there's a lot of things going on that I can talk about with you. But what I know about you is that you run your own event management organization, event planning. I don't know if agency is the right word, but you've been doing this type of work for 15 years. Explain that to me. How did you start off in this, and when did you launch your own organization?
Okay, that's a great story. So I have been planning events my whole life. I mean, from birthday parties for myself, for my sister, ranging, start high school proms, sorority events,
wow,
and then into, the friends' weddings and baby showers and all the way through. So I knew once I found out that was an actual way that I could make money, it was a no-brainer for me. And so I did that in the corporate world for about 15 years for different companies. Before I left to start my own company, I was the fourth employee at a company that then grew to over 700 in the 11 years that I was there.
Goodness.
So in that time, I had a huge opportunity to really experience every different type of event, every different size of an event, and how you can elevate the same event year over year, or quarter after quarter, to create a different and exciting experience.
Yeah,
and
you know
then
what? This type of thing sounds easy. And I hate to interrupt you, but I came from the hotel side. I spent 28 years, I forget, in the hotel side, and worked at the largest hotel in the state of Georgia, where one program would generate millions of revenue for the hotel. And to execute an event like this is not just simply making sure the napkins are folded. It is intense work. You have to be hyper organized, but it helps a lot if you really enjoy that work. It, quite frankly, just makes it easier. Is that right?
Oh, that's so true. And for so many people, they want to have an event, but I'm finding that there's so much fear and anxiety that goes along with that, because one, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it takes months and months and months of preparation and so much different coordination with different vendors and venues, and, to make all of the different components work together. I mean, it really does take an extreme level of organization and
right.
and processes. And that's something that, when I left my company in September of last year, and I was finally at that point. Well, you're never ready, right? You're never ready to make a huge
right.
life transition.
If you waited until you were ready, you wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
Right.
But I kept telling myself that, I know this stuff. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I have failed so many times that I have created processes to prevent that. And now it's time to leverage those processes and plan the events that fulfill me.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. And to me, it's really interesting. There's a lot of organizations that will they'll redeploy somebody that's on the administrative side, or somebody that's a manager, mid-level manager in an organization, say, why don't you go plan this program for us? The budget's going to be $1 million, and we're going to have 7 people come to it. And they quickly determine that they can't do it. So let's say that person is there now and they're listening to us. They could contact you and you could help them execute an event. Is that right?
Absolutely. I actually have a couple of different ways that I do that. And I have a one-on-one personalized consulting package that is targeted exactly for people in that position, or entrepreneurs that aren't quite ready to hire that full service planner. And they're just looking for the best practices, the tips, the tricks, and some guidance on, when you're looking for a venue, what are the things you need to make sure that you're asking? When you're negotiating a contract, what are those key clauses that will protect you? And then in that program, I also share all of my templates and spreadsheets and things that I have already created, so they're not starting with a blank slate. And that wasn't even part of my plan when I launched my business. I had always intended on just being a full service event planning company. Right. And the more that I got involved, the more I found out there's a real need for that in the market. There's tons of programs that people can take of how to become an event planner, but there's a lot of people that they don't aspire to be an event planner, but planning an event is part of their job, or planning an event is a necessary means to take their business to the next level. Yeah, and they just need that jumping off point.
Yeah, they got thrust into it. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, this is great. I am so glad you've joined us today. And we've got so much. We're going to get into a lot more stuff with you and some of the things that you've done on the social media side to leverage Be Bright events. If it's okay with you, I'm going to cover a little bit of news, and then we'll get into how you're leveraging Facebook in a great way. Does that sound good with you?
That sounds great.
Rock on. All right. So first thing is we do ask our listeners to send us some questions. We got a couple of questions since the last time we aired. One of them comes from John Barry. He happens to be the CEO with St. Vincent de Paul. And when he said this to me, I was floored. So I had to ask the question. I had to make sure I read this. So his question is, should the About section in LinkedIn be in first or third person? And that is always a great question. And if you look on the internet, everybody's going to tell you it should be in first person. Well, I disagree. You got to answer that question based on who you are and who your audience is. And I'm going to give you two examples. The first is a person that's coming out of college needs to have their LinkedIn profile in first person. So when you get down past the headline, you get to the About section. Some people call it the summary section. It's officially called About. It should be in first person for somebody coming out of college. Why? Because they don't have a lot of experience and they don't clearly have people working for them yet. So they need to be in first person. But let's switch gears. Let's go to the CEO of Delta Community Credit Union in Atlanta. That person needs to have their summary and / about section written in third person, because if they're writing it in first person, they look just overly self-consumed with themselves, and they should have people who can write that for them. So what I urge, and in fact for John, I think his About section should be written in the third person because of his level in the organization. So the question is, who is your audience and what position do you currently hold in your organization that can inform whether you should do that or not? Now, if that still doesn't answer your question, shoot me a direct message. I'll be happy to have a conversation with any of you about that, on whether you should be in first or third person to help you answer that question. The other question I got the last period was from Greg McCann. Greg McCann is with the Piedmont Bank. And his question is, how important are hashtags in LinkedIn posts? So today hashtags are rather, you can place them anywhere. Any social media takes those. But in LinkedIn, you can go into the search bar in LinkedIn and type in hashtag in a word and find out how many people are following that specific hashtag. So you can do that in LinkedIn, which is very interesting. So if there's a subject matter you're really interested in, go into the search bar, hashtag, type in the word of that subject matter. You'll see there will be some options that'll pop up. There'll be a pull down menu, and you can select one of those, and find out how many people are following that hashtag. And maybe it's something you want to follow, and you can click follow yourself. Here's why hashtags are important in LinkedIn. So if one of those hashtags is in your social media post, here's what you're going to find. You're reaching that audience that's following that hashtag. So hashtags, number one thing that does on LinkedIn, helps you grow your audience. You can reach more people. So I think in answering Greg McCann's question, hashtags are extremely important in LinkedIn. Always use them. As a matter of fact, you'll see when you post something on LinkedIn they have a little suggestion at the bottom of current hashtags that may make sense to you. So those are a couple of questions. There's some great news that's coming up that's out there right now that I do want to highlight, and we're going to move over to Wendi as soon as I go through these. The first one is, this is big. Out of the Wall Street Journal, this highlight article hit me a couple days ago, and it's the Justice Department is ramping up a Google probe with heavy focus on ad tools. So I'm going to read this as right out of this article written by Rob Copeland. I think that's the right name of this of the author of this. He said, quote, "In recent months, the department has been posing increasingly detailed questions to Google's rivals and executives inside the company itself about how Google third-party advertising business interacts with publishers and advertisers." They go on to say, Google's ad tech business consists of software used to buy and sell ads on sites across the web. The company owns the dominant tool at every link in the complex chain between online publishers and advertisers. So here's what this is all about. The concern is that Google controls too much here, that they are, the gorilla in the room. They're the ones that are controlling so much that it is possible that this leads to antitrust and some other things. And this is important. Why? Because this has been a subject about Facebook maybe potentially being broken up. You've probably heard some of the Democratic I was about to say nominees, but that's the wrong word. The folks running that are trying to win the nomination for the Democratic Party, they're talking about breaking up some of these software companies. And this is an example of something you should watch, because it is an area that we're all involved in. If you are paying for pay-per-click advertising, this could break this up where you no longer just go to Google. You'll need to go other places because Google is forcing everybody to use their site. So keep an eye on that. That's very important. And there's another important piece that's come up. This is very exciting. LinkedIn is rolling out a brand new feature that I just discovered. They have not announced this, but it is in the FAQs of LinkedIn. They're going to take the summary where you can add, I always call them tiles, but you can add important things like where you've been published and questions or maybe blogs to the bottom of your about section. Well, they're going to move that out of there, and they're going to call that the quote-unquote featured section. So if you look at our notes, so go to the show notes, you'll see there's a link there for the FAQs on this that LinkedIn has posted on their website. Look for this. So you're going to end up with another tile on your LinkedIn profile. So right now I have some of these tiles across the bottom of my summary section on my LinkedIn profile. They're going to move those off of there, and they'll be listed on their own separate spot as quote-unquote featured. So look for that. It will be rolling out, and LinkedIn does this intermittently. They'll roll it out to certain profiles. As a matter of fact, Wendi may get this tomorrow, and I could get it 3 months from now. So they do it in piecemeal, but it is something to look for. Don't be surprised if you have these tiles where you've featured website, maybe places you've been interviewed at the bottom of your about section. It's going to move to a new section called featured. So enough about news. Maybe our post-production person and that person is Perry. Perry, you should drop in a little music there, a little intro. Anyway, maybe, or Wendi, I should probably try to just do that on my own, have my own horn, right? Well, anyway, so that's enough of the news. Yeah, you can do it.
No, I think you can do it.
you have a lot more faith in me than I deserve. Well, thanks for letting me go through those news items. I'm going to launch into a very important thing that you do that our audience will find interesting. You've incorporated those Facebook Live videos into part of your marketing strategy. How is that working, and why did you do that?
Well, that's a great question. The why is because my business coaches told me it is necessary. To be completely honest, that is the reason. I have a couple of different coaches that I work with, and they all say that, for entrepreneurs, it's not just about your company. I am my brand. So yes. We all know, who do people buy from? They buy from people they know, like, and trust. So in order for me to build my personal brand and connect with my potential clients, it's important for them to be able to put a face with the name, see me engaging and interacting. It also builds my credibility as a subject matter expert in the events industry. So it's something that, it's definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone. Each one gets easier and easier. I'm not just getting on showing a picture of my son and look at us, we're at the park. And it takes some planning and forefront. And, like I said, they are getting easier and easier.
Right.
But what I've found is, I committed to doing them twice a month, every other Thursday. And what I've found is that, I'm starting to gain a lot of traction where I'm seeing the same people hop on every other Thursday.
Right.
And I'm getting a lot more private messages. There's not as much engagement in the live like you sometimes see. But afterwards, I get a lot of direct messages asking a specific question about something, or, wanting to schedule a strategy call because they were able to relate or experienced a problem previously that I was discussing in my live. So I think it's a great way to,
I love that,
to build that credibility, but also to be able to connect. And then when you're on a phone call, you feel like you know the person, especially since, I plan events all over the nation, all over the country. So I don't always have the opportunity to meet with my prospects and clients in person.
That is very cool. And here's what I like about this is that it's genuine. And we talk a lot about trying to be genuine. And that is it's a tough thing to get your head around. Well, okay, what does genuine mean? Does that mean that sharing an article is a bad idea? Not necessarily. If you genuinely are interested in that article, sharing that is fine. But by getting on a Facebook Live feed, and it is a feed, right? It's almost like you're plugged in and you're transmitting to the world. It's you unvarnished. It is who you are, and people can see whether they like you or not. I mean, it really comes down to that. Can I work with this person, Wendi? And if someone says knows that I need something, like let's say I am that person I mentioned before, that is, I'm in an organization and I've got to run an event, and someone says, "Gosh, you know what? You ought to." I saw this video the other day, and this woman, Wendi Freeman, did a video on how to be a better meeting planner. You should go check that out on Facebook. I'm going to go do that. And I get to see who you are. And I think, golly, I could really do some great work with Wendi. I think I'd like to collaborate with her. That's smart. So I think this is brilliant. Have you gotten business out of it? Have you actually seen it turn into an ROI? And I am keeping in mind that you started in September. So we're really, in the germination stage of your organization.
Well, and let's be honest, I left my company in September. I did not start doing regular Facebook Live. That was part of my 2020 strategy. So I have done 3 this year. I did a couple last year where it was like, oh my gosh, I just resigned. This is what I'm doing. But, as far as actual planned, intentional Facebook Lives, I have done 3 of them. So what I have 2 proposals out that generated from the one that I did 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And I've received a lot of referrals from it.
I think it's great. So,
and the best part is that it lives on my page.
It does.
So, I'll have somebody go in and be like, at whoever, you should check this out. I know you're in the middle of doing this right now. I think this would really help you. So to your point, the fact that, where Instagram videos are great and their stories are great, they don't have that shelf life.
Right. That's right. And I'm sitting here looking at your Facebook page right now, and 23 hours ago, you dropped a video, and I can tell you've already reached 170 people. So that alone, just think about this. 170 people have seen that video. Now, you may say, and there could be some people out there say, gosh, that's not thousands. Well, I'd argue that 170 people are truly interested in your product. Those are the people you want to see that. So once they sit down and watch this video, they're going to be more willing to remember you and to share that. Now, there is a feature inside LinkedIn where you can share this on your LinkedIn page. And I do know that you can download the video from Facebook. So do look at that, download it, and you could push it to LinkedIn also if your LinkedIn audience is in fact larger. Well, I think that is just brilliant. And we are in the beginning, right? So you started in September. The organization started in September. So you are leveraging this. I know you're going to be successful. I know you're going to get business from that. And the fact that you're doing it, I think is interesting. Tell me.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell me this. How nervous were you the first time you did one?
Words cannot even begin to describe it. And the
Absolutely.
funniest part, my first one was all about me. It was my story. It was, my history and where I've come from and how I made this decision and what who I'm so it was all about me. That's information that I know. But I had a bullet point script of what I was going to go through and how I was going to tell the story. And I think for the hour leading into it, I was my hands were sweating, my heart was pounding. And like 5 minutes into it, it was like, okay, all right, I got this. I'm talking about me. I can do that. But, and it has gotten easier, but I mean, even yesterday before I dropped that video, maybe instead of an hour ahead of time, it was more 10 minutes ahead of time. I'm like, oh boy, about to go live. And even yesterday, my internet dropped in the middle of it. So I had to start it over again.
Oh, that's horrible.
So that was awful, but we had some terrible rain here yesterday. So
we did. Yes. Yeah, it was crazy.
But you just got to keep going. And that's one of the things I've learned as an entrepreneur is that you just, roll through it and pick it back up and start again.
And I think and the reason I asked you that question is that it is uncomfortable. The first time you do something, you're going to be uncomfortable with it. I don't care who you are. The first time I sat down and did a podcast, I was sweating like crazy. In fact, I remember getting home because I recorded a podcast at Business Radio X, and I got home and I had to change my shirts because I had perspired so much during the first show. But the thing is start it, try it, and you will find this is a great way to leverage social media because not everybody's doing it. And if you do something that gets a little more attention, that lets people see the work that you're doing and you're genuinely interested in that work and you're talented, it will get people to refer business to you. So I think that that's just absolutely brilliant. All right, we are at 22 minutes. So we've got 8 minutes to go. I have another hot question for you. This is the one if you listen to my podcast, you hear me do this every once in a while. Like, I'm going to really hit you with a good one. My favorite question always is, what is the thing that you learned from the most? So if you've met somebody who's going to be a brand new business person, what would you say to them? Okay, before you start your business, you got to do X. What would be that one thing that you think is either a mistake that you've made or something that someone has to do to make sure they succeed in their business?
Wow, that's a great question, Mark. I think the first thing when they say, what do I have to do before I start? Stop thinking and just do. Just pull the trigger and go.
That is such an event planner type of comment for the record, right? There's a lot of doing in event management, but yeah, that's good. Go ahead and expand on that.
So, I did not, when I started my business, I did not have a business plan. I knew who I would want to target. I didn't have it all figured out.
Wow.
But the more that I started doing it, the more I started figuring it out, the more clear I became. Like I mentioned earlier, I had never intended on doing any sort of event coaching, but I saw a need for it in the marketplace. So I created it. And I think that's just a lot about, you don't know what you don't know, but you also don't learn unless you step out of your comfort zone.
Right.
I could have read a million books and podcasts and taken a ton of courses, but I still wouldn't have been prepared to do what I'm doing.
Right.
So I would say that, and then I would also say hire a coach. Resourcing up was tough for me because I didn't want to spend the money. Here I am about to leave the security of a steady paycheck and commit to ongoing, financial, responsibilities. But I feel so strongly that having a coach will help to expedite your success, and you have somebody who's able to guide you through those. There are going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. And there's days where, it's just like, what did I do? Oh my gosh. But then they're able to kind of reframe that and help you get back on track. And, and also it holds you accountable. When you're used to a 9-to-5 job and I don't have to, I don't have an alarm clock going off. Well, I do, but I don't have to. It holds you accountable.
That's
so
right.
I've actually, since I started, I have 3 different coaches that I work with, and they all help me in different areas of my life and my business. So that would be,
so
something I think people don't always think about,
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's had a huge impact for me.
I think that is so smart. I like to equate hiring a coach to the book of the Emperor Has No Clothes, because when you start off your own organization, especially if you have employees, you have people working for you, they're all afraid to tell you that your breath stinks, right? They're afraid to tell you that what you just did or that meeting you just ran really stunk. A coach will tell you that. So get that coach involved in pieces of, if you go on sales calls, it's a great example. I have a coach that I have him join me on a sales call. He can be a third person on a phone call, for example, and give me some feedback afterwards. So bring them in because they can point out where you can improve, and getting that extra opinion is just so important. And I love the fact that you have your coach help pick you up at times. Very, very smart. That is just stupendous advice.
And just to add to that, I think that something else that a real value that the coach brings to it is that, one, most of the answers I have, and they ask me the right questions to help me dig deep to figure that out. But more importantly, having somebody who believes in you, sometimes more than you believe in yourself, is all you need to get to that next level.
Right. That's a good point. Oh, I love that. Well, this has been very good, and we're almost at the end of our time. What I'd love to do is give you a chance to share with everyone where they can find you. Where can people find you on social media, website, and the like?
Absolutely. So my website is bebrighteventsco.com. That's bebrighteventsco.com. On Facebook, it's Wendi Freeman, and then my Facebook handle is just Be Bright Events, all one word. And on LinkedIn and Instagram, they are hyphenated. So it's Be-Bright-Events.
Perfect. Well, that is awesome. And is there a limit to the size of an event that someone should call you on? So if I'm going to plan an event for 50 people, is that too small for you?
It is not. I do half-day lunch and learns for groups of 10 people. And I've planned events all the way up to, just under 1,000. I have a huge network of other planners as well. So as the events get larger, I have a network of people that I'm able to leverage, because obviously one person cannot plan a 1,000-person event on their own.
Right.
So, and one of my favorite things is a lot of these, smaller things that started out as a lunch and learn or a 25-person mastermind, now they're starting to grow, and they're looking at doing a mastermind retreat or a 2-day conference. So it's exciting to be a part of that growth as well.
Oh, I love that. And I do want to, and the reason you and I connected is I am looking at doing a half-day event with one of our colleagues. So stay tuned as we blend that and get that done. We will announce that on a future podcast, maybe even have a podcast exclusively focused on that new event. But Wendi, I am so glad that you made time to join us today on How's Your ePresence. I look forward to talking to you a lot more and sharing and hearing about your successes. For the rest of you,
thank you so much, Mark.
You bet. For the rest of you, thank you for joining us here today on How's Your ePresence. Remember, we broadcast live on the third Thursday of each month at 3:00. Or just remember, the third Thursday at 3 on Business Radio X. That's on the Gwinnett station. You can go to the Business Radio X channel and look for the Gwinnett studio for that. Or you can find us, any of our shows, 24/7 by going to any podcast app or just searching for How's Your ePresence. Our website for the podcast is howsyourepresence.com, and all of our shows are there. Also, make sure you check out our website. We are found at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me, because it's all about you. And our social media handles everywhere is ePresenceME. No dot there. So just go ePresenceME anywhere on any social media handle or any social media site that's out there. So until next time, for my guest, Wendi Freeman, I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?